Hi everyone, my name is Ramin Zahed. I'm the editor-in-chief of Animation Magazine based in Los Angeles. I am thrilled to welcome you to our 2021 Rising Stars of Animation feature. As many of you may know, this is a recurring feature that we do every springtime in our magazine, where we try to spotlight a group of talented, diverse men and women who are making a big difference in the business. They probably have a big show coming up, or maybe an animated feature or a short, and this year is no different. Of course, the business was booming, so we had to up the number of stars to 16, and we are very happy to be able to introduce you to them via this video, in which you can learn more about their careers, and we're going to have them share some tips about how to get into animation and having your dream job. So without further ado, I'm gonna let them take over. You can read more about them on www.animationmagazine.net, or you can pick up this month's issue, which has the Mitchells versus the Machines and Arlo, the alligator boy, on the cover. Enjoy the video. Thanks.
Everybody, I'm Manny Hernandez. I'm the executive producer slash showrunner of the new upcoming show We Baby Bears. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and about how I got into animation. I'm originally from San Diego, California. I started out my career doing caricatures at SeaWorld San Diego, and learned a lot of fun things, believe it or not, about that would help me later on down the line in the animation industry. Um, I ever since I was young, I've always been in love with animation. Definitely watched all the classics growing up. I was glued to the television set as most of us were, I'm sure, that work in the industry. And I haven't really stopped wanting to be an animator since I was a kid. So I'm definitely one of those lucky people that was able to pursue a career that my child self wanted me to pursue. I think one of the reasons I was able to do that was because I never let the motivation inside of me, die. And I think that's a real important thing when trying to work in your dream job, whether it be wanting to be an aerospace engineer or an animator or, whatever. You can't let that motivation, go down. So as long as you keep being motivated and you keep that up, I think you can really accomplish your dream job and get to where you want. And this, I've had very obvious examples of how my motivation and gumption has helped me. For example, I went to a school at California Institute of the Arts up in Valencia for a couple of years, which was great. I got to meet some fantastic artists and learn a lot about how to make a film. And I was lucky enough to get into the Pixar internship program, and show my skills there and show the people up at Pixar, which are the best of the best, what I'm all about. Um, and I got hired at Pixar, and I'll tell you guys what the person that hired me told me. He said, Manny, you weren't necessarily hired for your artistic ability. You're good, but you're not that good. And I was just shocked. And he said, well, what we hired you for is because you showed us that you have the personality and the motivation to learn and the potential to get better as an artist. We really value that and like that. So we're going to hire you here. And voila, I got my dream job just out of not giving up, having that motivation, and having that drive to do better. So I say never give up that motivation, because you will definitely need it in the future, and it will take you to great places. And one of my favorite things about working in animation is collaborating with amazing people, older and younger than myself. You cannot, you have to learn from the people that are above you, and you have to continuously learn that the people that are below you as well. And above and below is not the best way to describe it. We're all in this together. We're all in a position of where we're at for a reason, and we all have the potential to keep growing as either artists or just as individuals. And me working on We Baby Bears and all the crew, I can't tell you how these wonderful people that I've worked with have taught me so much. It's always been a learning process and a collaborative process. Um, I view animation like an organic medium that grows on its own, and it tells you what it needs. And if you have good people around you that are just as motivated as you and willing to do great work with you, the seed that you plant of whatever you're making in animation is going to grow, and it's going to be cultivated in such a beautiful way, and it'll surprise you in the end, and you'll be so much more satisfied with what you make if you really learn how to collaborate with your peers, and keep that motivation alive. So if I were to offer advice to any of the young artists that want to be in animation out there, I would say, yeah, don't let go of that motivation. Don't let go of that spark that's inside of you. Keep it alive no matter what. If you're feeling uninspired, go out and travel. Into nature. See what will spark that. Um, I know that right now it's a little difficult to travel, so I'm sorry if I'm saying, hey, go travel to another country when we obviously can't. But in the near future, when you can travel, please do, because it inspired me a lot to see a different culture and different perspective. And yeah, again, learn how to collaborate with people. Surround yourself with the same type of motivational people, and work with them. Do something together and finish it, because that's the only way you'll get better as an artist, is if you do and finish, and surround yourself with people that way. Uh, so yes, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope you like the content that me and my fellow collaborators have been working on, and I hope that you continue to find that motivation, and I hope to one day see you in the animation industry so that we can work together and motivate each other and collaborate and harness great animation together. Thank you so much.
My name is Megan Ferguson, and I'm from British Columbia, Canada, but I live in Ottawa, Ontario. I've always been interested in animation. I've watched a lot of it. It's been something that I pursued because I was interested in it, but I actually found that I struggled a lot in understanding it and being comfortable with it. And it wasn't actually until I had worked in the studio for a few years and on a few projects that I actually feel comfortable enough to see myself doing it long term. I got my first job in animation in the most regular way, which is I did a demo reel. I submitted it to Mercury Filmworks, which was in the area at the time and still is. And they just happened to hire me because they were hiring people. But keeping the job was a bit harder, but I learned how to do that too. What I love most about working on Hilda is that I'm in this position to really learn from people who are a lot more experienced than I am in departments that I don't have a lot of experience with. So I've learned a lot about different skill sets and different career paths, and that's been really rewarding for me. And then on the other hand, I get to work with people who are really new to the culture of the studio, to animation, and I get to see them grow and talk with them about storytelling. So it's been really cool to kind of have both sides, and we all kind of come together in a collaborative environment and we all grow together. So it's been rewarding to see people from each level learn something new and bring new skills in. The toughest part about being an assistant director is just how much I affect the crew. And I don't think I really realized at first just how much, as someone who's in a leadership position, how much I could affect the morale of my crew just from the moods that I'm in. So it's kind of shone a spotlight back on myself and what I can improve on as a person, so I can better support my team. And I've learned a lot about myself through the process. And that's, I'd say, one of the hardest parts is sort of the interpersonal connections and how to be a leader. I had a lot of interests when I was growing up in terms of animation and movies, because my mother was sort of eclectic in her interests. She was a big animation buff. She loved 3D animation. So we would have like VHS tapes with like experimental 3D animation in it. It's all just like shapes and music and weird stuff. Or she would borrow like anime VHS tapes from her coworkers. So I'd watch a lot of like random eclectic anime too. So a lot of the things that I watched, like I can't pick out anything as being like my ultimate favorite. But I love that time because I was introduced to a lot of different animation, a lot of it more almost adult oriented, like Aeon Flux. That I could see it as a medium and as a storytelling device and not just as like something for kids. I have a lot of advice I would give to someone who's just starting off in animation, but my core message is basically don't put the job up on a pedestal. We can get sucked into thinking that our whole life has to be this job, and for me it's been really important to keep kind of one foot out of the animation industry and making sure that I have community and hobbies outside of my job. And I just really want people to come into this job knowing that you don't have to dedicate yourself 100% to it every single day. You know, it's okay to have a life outside and to always have that. My plans for the future are a big question mark. I tend to go where the challenge is. So whatever is sort of new or interesting or something I don't know, that's sort of the path I'll end up taking. So I don't try to be like too, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. The only thing I know that I really want to work on in the next few years is growing my community group, just because that's been a really great project for me outside of work and it kind of keeps my head on straight. And it's grown a lot and I'm really proud of it. So I want to see what we can keep doing.
Hello, my name is Carlos Baena and I'm originally from Spain. I moved to United States, to San Francisco in the early 90s, and I have lived in California ever since. I'm one of the directors of the film The Tiger's Apprentice, based on the book series by Bay Area author Lawrence Jepp, and this is the first book which came out in 2003. I would say to really love what you do, because making movies takes a really long time. Making animations takes a really long time, so you have to really enjoy the process. So find ways throughout where you are enjoying different aspects of it and you are pushing yourself and learning. And the learning goes for a long time. I mean, even if you land your dream job, still figure out ways to like continue learning, even if you think you've reached to the place where you always wanted to go. And also if your friends, you know, your peers, other students that are struggling, find ways to help them, because they'll be the ones that will help you when you are struggling. I really love everything about what we do. I get to tell stories, to bring characters alive, to imagine things, to dream for a living. That's incredible. Making films for me is like solving a puzzle. I love to figure out how to tell stories. I love having that conversation with the film to figure out what the film needs or it doesn't, and even have a conversation with the audience long before they even get to watch the film. Also, that I get to learn from my peers and from the team that I get to work with to hopefully be pushed to make a better film.
My name is Megan Dong, and I am the creator of Centaur World here for Netflix. The show was kind of inspired by my experience growing up. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger, and I was sort of like trying to take a more traditional path, was academically focused, and I had a bunch of honors classes coming into my high school, my freshman year of high school, and I was supposed to be in the orchestra playing violin, but instead I wound up in a show choir, and that kind of really got me on a path for, you know, towards more of the arts and music and all of that. Drawing was always important to me, but I never really considered it to be a valid career path until I had that experience. And I wanted to tell a story about a character who is my main character in my show is a war horse who's kind of like a soldier and who thinks that life is supposed to be one way, who gets kind of magicked into a world of singing and dancing and really colorful, magical creatures. And so I wanted to tell the story about a character who really had to confront her whole way of thinking, and it changes her for the better. My favorite thing about working in animation is just that it's so much fun to be collaborative, to be creative and collaborative. It's great to be able to come to work and share ideas with other people and just kind of, you know, work with them to make everything better. Like just like trusting your team, working with people who you respect and who also are bringing their own voices to the table and kind of creating something together is so much more rewarding than just doing it by yourself. And there's a lot of just really fun, creative, and talented people who work in this industry. In terms of advice for people trying to get into it, I think that it's important to, you know, note that there's a lot of resources that are available online nowadays. There's videos, there are blogs, there's online classes that you can take, and that's not even something that's specific to now that we're all at home during COVID. But there's a lot of online schools where you can really learn the ins and outs of the industry, and there's just a lot of resources that didn't exist just 10 years ago. And so I would encourage people to kind of take advantage of that and really, you know, like connect with other people online and sort of learn more about the field itself.
I'm Mike Yamada. I'm the production designer on Back to the Outback. I got my start in animation at DreamWorks. I actually had seen Lilo and Stitch. I was really curious about, like, you know, the backgrounds and the layouts, and that's what I really wanted to do. And I took some class from some teachers from DreamWorks, and I ended up working there. You know, one of my favorite things about the job is just, I don't know, getting paid to do this immense amount of research. Like, our show is about Australia, and we've been Googling Australia so much that it thinks that we live there. I get ads and all sorts of stuff, you know, for cool, fun things happening in Australia. And I actually can't wait to go. And I think the advice that I give for, you know, people starting off, especially people interested in production design, is just being curious and learning about as much about the whole process of filmmaking. Like, there was all sorts of things that I learned years ago that goes into this that I'm thinking about all the time. Like, these days I'm thinking a lot about, like, photography classes I took in college, and it's like, at that point it had nothing to do with what I was studying, but now that's something where it goes into, you know, talking about lighting, talking about how, you know, light works and lenses work, and I think that's something that's been invaluable for me now. And I don't know, has always been kind of building the world of, like, designing everything. There's so much thought and care and intention that goes into crafting everything that goes into the movie. Like, I think that's something that's always been really special about it. So then it allows you to really make strong intentional choices that support the story and the narrative and the world that you build. And I think that's always something that's been really, really kind of amazing and special about the art and the craft of it.
Hi, my name is Shabrayia Cleaver, and I am a production manager at DreamWorks Animation. As a production manager, I'm really overseeing the general production of the film. I work with the show producers and studio executives to manage the overall budget and schedule for the film, while also kind of driving the week-to-week priorities for our team. But at the end of the day, I always say this, I manage the people. I work super closely with our creative leadership team to ensure that their vision is coming to life on screen, and I manage and mentor our production staff, encouraging them to not only pursue professional but personal growth as well. I have come a long way since I started as a little baby intern on How to Train Your Dragon 2. Every step of the way as I was being promoted, whether it was from production assistant to coordinator or coordinator to production supervisor, I was always hesitant. I was like, I'm not ready. Although I was always looking to what that next step was, I always felt like I needed to be over prepared or over ready for whatever that next thing was. But when I was promoted to production manager, I realized something. you're never gonna be ready, right? So you kind of just have to trust that you'll figure it out when you get there. And I have benefited from having leadership who was able to see that in me before I could even see it in myself. There are so many things that I love about my job. As a production manager, I'm involved in every aspect of pulling the film together, from helping identify our creative leadership team and, actually delivering the film, small details, but even details like when a meeting can happen or confirming every person's credit on the film. And I enjoy being a part of all of those little details that contribute to making an animated film, because then I feel such a sense of responsibility for the creation of it. And I get so attached to any project I'm on because, that's your life for those couple of years. And the other great thing is I'm not limited to my role as a production manager on whatever film I'm on. I get to take part in global studio initiatives and equity alliances that help make the studio and the industry a better place. I act as a committee lead for the Black Employee Network at DreamWorks, and we put on events for not only our internal community, but our external community, the community that reaches beyond our walls. And we're always striving to increase representation on screen and behind the scenes and amplify Black voices. So not only do I get to be a part of creating beautiful animated films, I also get to be a part of creating lasting change in this industry. And those two things are so incredibly invaluable and fulfilling for me. Advice for up and comers. When I started off in animation, I had absolutely no animation experience, and I beat myself up because I felt like my work experience wasn't relevant. But I was so wrong. I worked at Disneyland for years, and that is where I learned how to communicate with people in stressful situations. And yes, animation is an incredibly fun industry, but there are times where you need to have those difficult conversations. So seeing the value and importance in the experience that you bring and knowing that you will bring something unique to this.
Hello, my name is Alfonso Blaas, and I was the production designer on TOA, Tales of Arcadia, The Rise of the Titans. I was doing that position in order to get the ideas from a creator, Guillermo del Toro, and try to, put it on a screen and get the maximum standard of quality that we could due to television budget and timing. And I really enjoy a lot the process with the whole team, because it's that collaborative experience that brings that team that is give you the possibility to do a project like this one, this magnitude. I started in animation kind of 2005. In production, I'm originally from Spain, and it was a good moment those years in Spain, because we start to receive a lot of opportunities of with a few studios. It was like a wave of animation suddenly in Spain during those years, and I was I was back to introduce with in the festivals and like with different artists working in different studios. And I sent my portfolio after I graduated from fine arts. I was preparing my whole portfolio and sent it everywhere. And suddenly I received one call for a movie was made in Spain. I was Don Quixote for Filmax as a matte painter. That's my first experience. After that one, and how it started is I had the luck to have a brother that actually was really involved in animation. He was an animator studios like Blue Sky and Pixar, and I absorb a lot of influence and reference thanks to that, and I really want to make something collaborative in a way, like a teamwork. That was my whole thing. Studying art, it was like, okay, fine art, okay, I want to be a painter. That's kind of what I was always wanted, is painting and about lighting and all this. And suddenly I met Daisuke Tsutsumi, Dais from Tonko House, and I was like, okay, I want to do that one. That's a great thing. And that was my first interaction with animation big time. Well, a little bit of something to say about the people who want or are interested in making a career in animation. For me, I think the best thing I really find is create your own library, research in your head, like try to absorb as much as you can from everywhere. Doesn't feel, try to not feel it's a waste of time doing things. Is try to absorb any kind of elements around you and try to make them part of something bigger, or always taking someone from, something from someone in terms of a line or whatever, a design or an idea, and try to push a little bit harder. So in order to be the same thing, animation in terms of collaborative, not as a solo artist working. That's a different area that I'm not in that one. But as part of a studio or a team, I think the best ideas for a artist to start is thinking always in that type of thing, and try to get all the bases, like a really structures and everything, how you want to start, if there's a modeler or artist or whatever. Always have this basic fundamentals really well established and revisited over and over again. All right, thank you very much.
Development designer and writer at 16 South, and basically what I do with my job is I am involved in creating and coming up with lots of new ideas and styles and designs for all kinds of children's TV shows. So we do everything from 2D animation to CGI to live action. And we come up with the base idea where the whole series can spring from. So it's a really exciting and creative role to play. It's my favorite job I think I've ever had. I moved up to Belfast, where our studio is based, to start out as a background designer on a show we did a few years ago for Disney called Claude, and from there I kind of fell into development, which is I think the best thing that's ever happened to me, because in college it wasn't a job that I even knew existed, but it kind of marries the artistic creativity of drawing with the most important thing of our job, which is storytelling, and it brings those two together, and we make absolutely everything, which is the best part. I think I love the fact that we can be juggling 7, 8, 9, 10 different projects all at the same time. I really like hopping onto things when I'm feeling a bit, burnt out. With one idea, there's always another one just sitting off there to the side that you can focus your energy on, so you'll never get bored. And there's always something new to do, and you can flex your design muscles by trying lots of different styles, which is the best. And I think if there's anyone out there who would love to get into development, absolutely absorb everything around you, because one of the most important things about our job and what we do is drawing from real life. So that's, you know, not just artistically drawing, but you know telling stories about things that we see, that people we meet, and I think the realist part of that is kind of, it comes from real life. So whether that's, you know, books or buildings, you know, your friends, your family, everything around you, and to kind of never stop observing and taking all of that in, I think is absolutely the most the most key thing that I could tell you to do.
Hello, my name is Wendell Dalit, and I was the art director on Sony Pictures Animation's Vivo. I got my job through the recruiter Jana Day at an animation convention, and she reached out to me as soon as I graduated college and hooked me up with my first gig. So I rolled onto Vivo as a visual development artist, and the production designer Carlos Zaragoza asked me to join the team as an art director, and I've been really thrilled ever since. What I loved about working on Vivo was that it allowed me to embrace both, you know, music and dance, since they're both really great passions of mine. And it was a really great experience for me. And additionally, like, the project was a great opportunity to explore a variety of different visual styles that really enhanced the emotional beats for each musical number. Some advice I would have for some younger artists trying to get into animation is to be open-minded and not be afraid to learn new things that you can add to your animation toolbox.
My name is Dou Hong, and I am the model supervisor for Young Justice Phantoms, which is season 4 of Young Justice. What my job consists of is basically working with the showrunners, Brandon and Greg, to make sure that the show style and the characters that we draw fit the style and the vibe of the show. And what I really like about the show is not only do we get to create character designs of a lot of the famous superheroes that come out of Warner Brothers and DC, but also because of my job, I'm actually able to do a little bit more than what you might think a character design person would do. I actually work with overseas to kind of make sure that the show style, like the characters that we kind of, you know, show them, make sure, you know, work with the animation that they do over there to make sure that it flows well. And sometimes, you know, if the character's a little bit too complicated, they might ask us to be, you know, kind of tone them down a little bit. And so we have to be considerate of those people overseas. And what's really great about it too is that even though I'm in charge of characters, I was allowed to actually attend a lot of the color stylistic meetings. So not only am I kind of contributing my ideas for character design, but I'm also able to actually help out in terms of color as well. And what's really awesome about it too is that Greg and Brennan, they will actually ask me for my opinion sometimes on the color styling, just to see if, you know, what I think about the characters, if it fits with the characters and their style and their vibe. And what I've really learned about kind of working on the show is that it's a lot of, you know, compromise, and it's full of teamwork, you know, because sometimes it's like, you know, you might get a position where you're the lead and you kind of want to insert like all of your kind of ideas into the characters, but you have to kind of consider that it's like, does this character and the way that they look actually fit with the story and the goals that the showrunners of the show actually want for it. And it's really cool because sometimes the product that you get is actually better than what you would have gotten by yourself, because you're getting a lot of input from the showrunners and anybody who's actually involved. And I would have to say that, you know, if you're interested in this career, one of the things that definitely helped me actually get into it, because my first job was at Cartoon Network working on a show called Ben 10, was actually me, you know, creating my own projects on the side. I didn't go to school for animation or entertainment. I actually went to school for automotive design, yet I still ended up here. And as I said before, you know, the passion is what really kind of drove me to eventually come out here and get a job. I loved cartoons growing up, and for the past 20 years, 2 decades, I have actually been watching the DC animated features and shows and movies, and that's the one thing that I've always really loved. And so I would create my own projects where I would come up with my own, for example, like Green Lanterns, or create my own original characters that I would imagine that they would be part of, like the Teen Titans, for example. But that work that I would have to do and the passion that I put into it when I would post it online got me a lot of attention. And it actually allowed me to meet a lot of people who are in animation and to kind of create and foster those relationships that would eventually lead my way into animation. So I would have to say that if you really want to work in animation, I think passion is sort of that first step that can sort of embolden you to actually put the hard work into it and put it online. Animation is a very visual medium. So if you are afraid of kind of putting your work online, it's kind of hard to kind of have people see the talent and passion that you have. So, you know, one of the things that I think would definitely help if you are a little bit shy is that you can, you know, kind of put it out there. And then the more that you put artwork out there and you can see the appreciation that other people have for your version or your interpretation of certain characters or certain ideas, it's a habit that you kind of have to start. But yeah, I would have to say that if you have the passion for it and you can tie it into artwork, especially if you want to focus on design, I think those two things definitely would help kind of guide you into animation.
Hi, I'm Christina LaFerla, and I'm the CG supervisor on Big Nate at Nickelodeon. My job is to work with everyone on the show, overseeing all aspects of development, pre and post production for CG. I got my position because I was working as animation director on a show called Santiago when I heard about Big Nate. And when they told me they were going to be adapting the comic into CG, I got really excited and I knew I wanted to be a part of the project. What I really love about my job is we're able to adapt a 2D comic and bring it into a CG world. It's truly been a group effort. I get to work with each step of the CG animation pipeline. We have an awesome crew that I'm able to work with: the writers, designers, the board team, modelers, look development team, animators, compositors, all the way to the vendors in India. I get to see scripts come to life in CG after months and months of teamwork. The advice I would have for young animators is to be persistent, be driven, don't give up. When I was looking for jobs, every time I'd watch a cartoon, I'd go to their website, I'd find out if they had internships. I talked to people, I called people, emailed recruiters. I think that the past year has been really pivotal for animation because we've been able to make it a lot more inclusive. On Big Nate alone, we've been able to hire people from New York, Florida, Colorado, whereas before you had to live in LA to work in animation. I don't think that's the case anymore. And I think that's changing since the past year. I just wanted to say thank you to Animation Magazine for considering me one of the rising stars of animation. I'm humbled and very grateful for the opportunity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valtteri Heinonen. How I ended up at Gutsy, I actually worked for the ad industry for about 10 years. I got to Gutsy and now I've been working on Moomin Valley for the last 2 years. So in animation, I love everything about animation, and it's in some ways more expressive, I think. I love it when you can bring life to things that are or begin as inanimate things. And it's just when you see it come alive, like really not just move, but come alive. That's what I love. I'd say that one of the most important things for any artist is to have this, like, a partner, I guess, someone to bounce your work off of and just, you know, kind of talk about things, talk through things. Yeah, if you can find a a Lennon to your McCartney, or I don't know, a Bernie Taupin to your Elton John. It's a very valuable thing. Just, practice, 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 and then also maybe try and find inspiration and reference to your work. There's so many places and things to pull inspiration from that it would be a shame to miss out on it.
Hi guys, my name is Grace Coombe. I work in animation as a visual development artist and occasionally character designer as well. And currently I am working as a visual development artist on Netflix animation for a show called Blue Eye Samurai. It's an adult series. I guess I do get a few questions about like why I am kind of hopping onto both. I do like doing both, mainly because I get bored of the one job a bit too easily, which is probably why visual development is kind of a nice option for me. But character design is also pretty nice. So I do end up like hopping onto one or the other when I feel like the occasion arises for me to have to be able to have the option. Let's see. And I will talk about like how I first started in animation, and in terms of like how I got my first gig, I had the very fortunate ability to have, or not the ability, I had the fortunate situation to have a lot of really good students and friends around me, including a lot of really amazing teachers. And luckily with us collaborating together and having a lot of like really generous and really sharing people, competitive, like generous competitivity, like amongst my fellow students, that we shared a lot of resources, like, oh, we found this place, we found that place, and we will always like apply to those places together. And luckily we were doing that a bit ahead of time before we were officially graduating. And because we had a little bit of a head start with it, reaching out to places and telling them ahead of time that like, oh, we will be graduating around this time. Are you interested? And we would reach out to this other person. And, are you interested? And these are mainly resources that we had gathered from when we were going to different conventions and going to different gallery shows. And we just reached out to them after asking for their emails if they were comfortable with it. And so we did. We also asked our instructors who are still in like communication with all of these people and other shows and these different companies. And then they would also tip us off to say like, oh, this person's looking, are you interested? And then we would say yes. So of course, by the time we graduated, we had a lot of emails to catch up on, which was both a good thing and a bad thing. Because normally when you're graduated, you would want to take a break. We didn't have much of a break until we finally got the answer that we needed. It was through an instructor who tipped me off that this person was looking, so he was asking around, and then thus I reached out, and I got 2 different tests, which was one was for storyboard revisionist, and the other one was for prop design. The prop design test wasn't ready, so I got a storyboard test. And once I was done with the storyboard test, they called me in while I was working on the prop design test because they finished it around that time. And luckily, for someone who was never intending on being trained for storyboarding, got a storyboard revisionist job, which was great because I ended up learning about almost, not all, but in terms of why storyboard is needed for design and why design is necessary, or what design is needed to get storyboards rolling. So it was really good for me to understand the pipeline through that. But yeah, that's what I would have to say about how I got the job. And I would have to say this for sure to everyone, especially for you guys that are starting off. I cannot say that this timeline is exact for everybody. It will take time for some people, and this happens to both really good people and people who are still learning. And that also varies as well. Some people that have a lot of talent can take a little bit longer, and this is all due to timing, meeting the right people and their situations as well. And this can happen to also people that are still learning, and this doesn't have to reflect on your capabilities. But in saying that, like, be patient, stay excited as much as you can, and be proactive. My cat just knocked over my cactus. But yeah, that's all I have to say. And thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Beatriz Martin, and I am a character animator at Wild Brain Studios, working at the Snoopy Show. Each team works on a specific episode. We are assigned a number of scenes and work from an approved storyboard. So we submit a first pass with just key poses, and once revised and approved, we submit the animation that will also need revisions and final approval. Well, I love that I can act, that I can be so many different characters and creatures, having all sorts of adventures and emotions. And I love being part of a story. And also I love that I can work with very interesting, creative, and supportive people. But I also get to contribute to building community at the studio. So I really enjoy contributing in that way as well, through organizing live remote workshops like Draw Together. So people would share a passion or skill with others at the studio. So we kind of help people stay connected and motivated while working from home. And I love that I get the support from the studio to make all this happen. So in general, I would say draw everything, attend live drawing, but also go outside and draw people doing things, draw animals doing animal things, draw, and take improv theater. But in particular, to those that are starting later in life, I would say that every single experience, academic, professional, or just life experience, will add up and will make your portfolio and your artistic style unique. I would say that luck happens, but also hard work and perseverance and passion that actually leads to new opportunities. So before getting into animation, I actually went to med school and later worked as a medical illustrator for some years. I was also taking a lot of improv theater, and I was having this crazy idea of maybe mixing drawing with acting and becoming a story artist and animator. So I attended a story character and animation masterclass in London, and the story artist that was presenting made a huge impression on me. And I decided to take a loan and move to Vancouver to study 2D animation. It was not easy to get started in the industry once I graduated. But finally, after some months working as a barista, I was able to meet Nadine Westerbacke, who was at that time the animation director of My Little Pony, the movie that was being made at DHX, now Wild Brain. And she had watched my student film, but what we ended talking the most and what she enjoyed the most were my studies of animals that I had made on location. So it was actually the studies and drawings I had made on my spare time that kind of gave me the opportunity to take an animation test, and that's how I started.
Hi, I'm Eastwood Wong. I am the art director on The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I've always wanted to be an artist, to work in animation ever since I was young, ever since I watched the first episode of Sailor Moon and fell madly in love with it. And to think that that could be a job that was like so amazing. I think all my experience in the animation industry kind of helped me get to where I am today. You know, I started off doing, you know, small graphic design jobs. From there, I went to, I went to art design school and I got an internship at Pixar and kind of started my career from there. I did a little bit of everything. I did some background art, some character art, some shader work, and that just kind of prepared me to do like, just to know the pipeline of the industry and the production. I mean, every show is different, and working on different shows like on Peabody and working on a 2D show and getting to art direct on Carmen over at Chromosphere was a big step for me. Just learning the day-to-day of being an art director kind of prepared me for this role. I got this job because someone that I work with, who I'm also friends with and I looked up to, recommended me for this job. My job as an art director on the show is working with Bruce and all the other artists to kind of create like a visual style and the look of the show that we're all really into, and then just kind of carry out that visual language throughout the whole entire series. The things I love about working on The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, is to be able to work on a show that I grew up watching and loving, and to be able to work with Bruce Smith, who's an amazing artist. The one big thing is also the message of the show, the diversity aspect of it. Not only is it diverse in the show and the characters, but also the crew that's working on it. And that's something that's really special that I don't really experience too much working in animation. So I really treasure that. The advice I would give to young artists and animators like trying to get into the industry is to talk to everyone and network. And you never know what kind of collaborative project that would come out of it.